Hey, my name is Matthew Napier, and a few months ago, I decided to go for the Security Plus exam. I passed my first attempt, and I did it in less than 30 days. So in this video, I'm going to break it down for you so you can do it too, and not feel like just because I have a cyber background, I was able to pass in 30 days and you can't. Well, you can. Number one, we need to talk about the reason why you're getting the cybersecurity certification, okay? If you're trying to just grab it for a certification underneath your belt, it's really good because some jobs actually require it as well as an entry. Now, you're not going to be able to get a job immediately just having this certification and calling it a day with no work experience or anything else. On the CompTIA website, it states that having this certification can land you a job making upwards of 70 grand plus. Honestly, the truth is that's probably not going to happen, and you need a lot more certifications to back yourself up. The reason for this is because a lot more people in the recent years have been going for cyber-based jobs. Hell, even I am, and you see me making YouTube videos about this sort of stuff. But let's get into the basics. So, you're trying to get the certification and you don't know where to start. Do not buy the practice exam paper book. You do not need this. Do not buy the study guide. There's no point for this. If you don't want to pay more than 20 bucks other than a certification, then listen to me. Here's how this is going to work. Now, depending on how fast you want to pass this exam, heavily depends on how much effort you put into this exam. Now, what you're going to immediately do is watch all the Professor Messer videos. I know you've heard him probably 500 times if you researched like I have when I was trying to study for the Security Plus exam. In addition to the Professor Messer videos, what I would recommend you do at that point, after you finish some videos or anything else of that nature, is start taking these practice exams. Now, I'm not talking about the practice exams that you go on Google and you find 500 of and they cost 100 bucks or 50 bucks and it's only for 3 exams or whatever. Do not do any of those. All those are basically a scam. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. Do not go and find the Dion courses. The Dion courses are extremely technical, and it will not help you, and sometimes he goes off course on what you shouldn't need to know or worry about per se for this exam. While it's a great course, do not go towards a Dion. Just do Messer. Now, when you're going and trying to figure out what course exactly to get or which exam or what, just use your phone. Go to your phone and type in on your Play Store a Security Plus quiz. Find the top rated one. It's going to be like, oh, here are some practice questions. It's going to give you, say, 4 or 5 questions, and how it works is it gives you 4 literal questions with 4 possible options on each individual one, and every time you get one wrong, it should give you the answer and explain why it's the answer. You're going to be wanting to do these almost daily at a minimum. It doesn't matter if you're failing every single question because you're getting the answer at the end of the day while failing. This allows you then to be able to answer correctly when you see it again. Now, here's the thing. With this exam, it's extremely basic, very fundamental. Also, why you're not going to be able to land a job right out the gate with it, because it's more so competency. This exam is essentially to say, hey, I have this certification, so because I have the certification, I'm not going to be stupid and leave the door open. That's quite literally what this exam is for, so you can say, I spent hundreds of dollars, so I know not to leave the door open, or I understand that I should be using security, and so on and so forth. Take, for example, this, okay? And this is literally how the exam essentially is in terms of its information that it wants you to know. You're at a supermarket. What are the attack vectors, essentially, right? We're looking at immediately the door. Okay, it's made of glass, everything else is made out of brick. Therefore, the only real attack vector is through that door. Okay, that's awesome. But as a normal customer, you wouldn't be thinking about where are all the attack vectors of this building. You have to now start thinking as a security/cyber specialist. Okay, you have to start getting into that mindset of how do I break things? How do I get into things? How do I then defend against that break-in? And this is what this certificate is essentially trying to get you to start doing. Now, with the Superstore example, what if, for example, we added a back door to it? Then what? Does that include another security vector? Now what happens if, for example, there's security cameras? What about having guards at the front door? And we start adding more and more security onto this building. Well, as you'll start to learn, the more security that you add onto something, the less of an ease it is for the customers. For example, if you require all your customers to have an ID badge in order to get into the supermarket, almost no one is really going to want to be able to go to that market. They have no interest inside of it because it takes a while, especially if you then require a thumbprint and then a retina scan and whatever else. But if you just, for example, like at Costco, show them a card, they allow you in, then it's relatively straightforward. However, let's take, for example, a government building now. Now you have a perimeter. Now you have guards walking and patrolling. Now you have armored doors. These are the sort of things that you have to now be seeing. Now, for the exam itself, when it comes to this, it's not per se going to set you up in a lab experiment and say, explain all the attack vectors that are going to be here. It's not going to be the case. What's going to happen with the exam is it's going to give you a few initial labs. And these labs are probably going to be based off of the key principles of the exam. One of the key principles that almost no one on YouTube has yet to explain or properly state is the encryptions. You have to memorize, and this was the hardest part for me as well, even if you don't understand them, what each and every single encryption does for the Security Plus exam. Hey guys, Editor and Matthew here. I'm just chiming in really quick to let you know that we have a Discord server in the description if you want to join our community and hang out and ask questions, or if you have additional feedback in regards to this video. And that goes into creating newer and better videos. I'm not really a YouTuber by any means, but I'm trying to get into it, so if you like the content, please hop in, stop by. It's even greater than, you know, dropping a like or anything like that, so anyways, see ya. Now with this exam, because it's basic, it's quite literally meant for you to be able to look at something and say, well, that's probably the answer, and be correct. So it really, really, really focuses on logic. So for example, when we start going into the exam questions, immediately you're gonna have 3 to 5 labs. Sometimes it's 2, whatever it might be. It's really random between 2 to 4. I'd say 2 to 5 personally, but anyways, these labs in my opinion account for roughly 60% of your grade, but they just do not tell you that. That means you have to pass these labs. You have to. However, it's super easy and rather straightforward to be able to pass these exams if you have the previous knowledge. What you can also do is you can watch YouTube videos that go into Security Plus labs to be able to figure out how this works, and I'm going to be showing you some videos. After you go through and you do the labs, you're going to have just questions, and these questions are going to have 4 possible choices, and you're going to pick one. One of them is the correct one, the other ones are not. This exam is super tricky because usually there's a pretty much kind of sort of should be right answer on usually 1 and 4. And if you start getting questions right consecutively, usually they try to make it a bit more difficult for you. Now, this is why it's very important to watch the Professor Messer videos alongside doing the quizzes. If you do the quizzes, you'll already understand how the verbiage is for these exams and how they can try and trick you. Now, for me personally, I was able to complete this exam in 2.5 weeks. Now, again, I have a cyber background, so I already knew a few things. However, you're able to do it too, because there were days in that 2.5 weeks where I just literally did absolutely nothing to do with the exam by any means and had zero interest in it, because I was spending on the previous days 10 to 12 hours straight for studying this exam. Now, the final thing that's possibly missing that others do not mention here is the moment you get the certification, you're on a ticking clock. You have to renew the certification within a couple years or else it expires. That means you have to get other CompTIA security certifications. So you'll have to go for a CISA Plus, maybe a Network Plus, a Security X, and every time you get one of those new certifications, it renews your other certification, so long as it's considered a higher one, if I recall correctly. This is no longer I'm gonna get one certification and then I'm good for the rest of my life. This is now, you are entering into the cybersecurity realm. This is a very serious thing. That means you're gonna have to do other certifications to renew your previous certifications, and you have to figure out how you're going to keep your current certifications from expiring, because you don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to then have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars all over again and rinse repeat. This is how these certificate companies continue to make their money. So the moment that you get your Security Plus exam and you get the acceptance that you did pass and you did great, you're on that clock. You have to figure out what your next certificate is going to be. Granted, you have a few years. However, if you want to keep going at this, you have to make sure that you have a sufficient amount of credits before it wraps up. My name is Matthew. I appreciate you guys coming and checking out this video.